Hey everyone, this is Jed with the Cohen Group Northwest, and welcome to our Nonprofit November series. This week, we're taking a look at Make.Shift Art Space, an organization dedicated to empowering, supporting, and creating opportunities for local artists and musicians of all ages across Whatcom County. Make.Shift runs an all-ages art gallery and music venue, affordable art studio, band practice spaces, weekly workshops, and a low-power community FM radio station, KZAX 94.9 FM. They want to live in a world where art is essential, music is life, and weirdos are always welcome. Here to talk a little bit more about their mission and impact is their executive director, Jessyca Murphy.
I'm Jessyca Murphy. I'm the Executive Director at Make.Shift Art Space. So we started in 2009, and our original mission was more focused on being a support network for local bands, and we have evolved over the years. In 2011, we moved into this space, which was formerly the Jinx Art Space, and we took on having an art gallery, having studio spaces for artists, and then we kept evolving our programs. We now run a community radio station. We also have an education program where we have workshops every week and go into schools and other community organizations to provide skill sharing in arts and music. So our mission is to provide all ages arts and music spaces in Whatcom and Skagit counties. So our big focus is having intergenerational experiences around art and music. So having all ages shows, having all ages art gallery exhibits, like I mentioned, the workshops, which are all ages. We really want to be able to be that space that especially young folks can come and experience creative things and be able to engage with other people around those experiences, since a lot of creative events are 21 plus, and we want to be that alternative to that. Yeah, we've been here since 2011. It was an art space before us, so a lot of the kind of infrastructure was built already, but we did keep expanding on it and offer more studio spaces. When you first walk in, it's the art gallery. We have like a front gallery and then a back gallery. When you go through the little hall, there's our classroom space and open studio, and all of the doors that you see like around the building, those are all artist studios or music practice spaces. And when you go downstairs, that leads you into the music venue. And if you keep going around the hall, you'll see even more studios and music practice spaces. We also have an hourly practice space, so musicians can come and use a fully backlined practice space and just rent by the hour, since we don't have unlimited space for people to have their own individual studios.
So I've rented a studio back in the basement here for I think 2.5 or 3 years, and we were on a wait list for about a year before we got it. And so we had been just kind of practicing in what was colloquially referred to as the Jed Shed, which is up in the Iron Gate neighborhood, which if you know anything, it's not really a place of music and creativity. So then when the opportunity came to get this space, we jumped on it, and so there's 4 of us that rent the space. Me and 3 friends, so it keeps the rent kind of low. And we've got kind of a full back line, kind of like the practice area. And have amps, guitars, a couple synthesizers. So yeah, so we got like full drum kit over here. Anyway. Yeah, so that's the drum kit. Got an array of guitars and basses over here. This is my pride and joy, my Fender Jaguar right here. Got this thing down in Seattle a couple years ago. It's my best axe. Got a couple others too. And then we have a PA, so check, check.
Oh God.
It won't be too loud. You can play the egg shaker.
Hello, this is Jed Holmes of the Cohen Group, live from Make.Shift Studios.
So that's kind of fun. But this is one of my favorite little devices. You might have seen it on my social media. But this is the Moog Voyager synthesizer. They don't make these anymore. And so it's a monophonic synth. And what that means is it runs through a bunch of circuitry and you play one note at a time, but you can really make some wild sounding things. Like Thomas Dolby plays one of these, Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails. I'm trying to think who else. There's a bunch of Orbital, all sorts of kind of heady electronic artists and people in kind of like industrial rock and roll. I use this machine. When I got it, it was broken. I had to send it down to Seattle to get it fixed, and now it's running like a dream. So shout out to Jordan down in Seattle for fixing it up for me. It lights up blue. It's kind of fun, and it's got this kind of pressure sensitive thing where you can like be playing a note and it'll go zeow, zeow. So I'm here about 2 days a week. Kind of got the chalkboard wall for writing song ideas, and then couch for when we have guests. And I really love it here. It's been a good space.
I think that we saw, especially during the pandemic, how much arts and music was a huge part of people's lives. Like once people couldn't go out and see live music or experience museums or art galleries, I know for myself and a lot of people that I talked to, that was like a huge missing part of like humanity, being able to connect that way. And so I personally believe that creativity is just essential to living. I think about the movie Dead Poet Society, where Robin Williams talks about how poetry and music and art is the why behind why we live. And as much as people definitely need to have their basic needs met, I think that art and music play another huge role in, you know, why we get up in the morning and how we engage and feel joy in our day-to-day lives. So something that I think makes us special is that we have a lot of focus on making sure that marginalized folks have a place, people that you might not see as often showcased in other galleries or venues. A lot of the folks that run our organization are queer or people of color, and so we want to make sure that those voices are at the forefront of everything that we do, and that we're creating that space, especially for young people that may be facing a lot of extra discrimination. They may be, you know, experiencing a lot of oppression, and we want to be able to create that space where people can come and just be themselves and be like fully accepted in their authentic selves, and then have those expressions of who they are celebrated in the space.
Hi, my name is Beth Gurma, and I'm the Education Director here at Make.Shift. The community education program is still pretty new, but it aims to just serve weekly workshops, Saturday workshops here at Make.Shift around art, music, dance, and some political education as well. They're all pretty affordable. I think a big part of the program is accessibility and making sure like anybody can kind of join in. So if funds are ever a barrier to attending, we make sure that anybody can attend as well. Do the workshops in schools too, to make sure that like youth in the community are able to access these classes as well, because we know that arts education in schools isn't as funded as we'd like it to be. So accessibility in the classroom too also feels really important. And in addition to that, we serve workshops to different community programs, so not just to youth at schools too. And part of the community education role is also supporting our internships. So that means supporting them in their different projects and making sure that folks can get credit for their time and their support at Make.Shift too, and just bringing as many people into the folds as possible. We try to do a bunch of different things, and any local artists are welcome to facilitate a workshop and receive payment for it as well. So there's no certain level of experience that folks need, because that also can be a barrier to artists who are trying to teach community. So we do like a lot of visual art, all beginner friendly, and all of the workshops are also all ages. We've been incorporating more like movement and dance workshops as well that we would do down here, and some more like community education stuff. So bringing awareness to some of the ongoing issues in Whatcom County and kind of getting folks centered around that and working together, in addition to just like more visual arts and music too. Some big ones that come to mind are direct animation workshops, where we had folks folks kind of work on film and project their projects at the end. It's really nice for everybody in the workshops to look at what they all made collectively and just celebrate each other and connect with one another in that way. And another one that comes to mind is we had a facilitator who taught folks how to make guitar pedals. So this is something that they would do on their own time usually, and that kind of skill sharing also feels very important too, because there aren't that many places where you can learn how to do that at an affordable cost in a low barrier just space. So yeah.
So we do have volunteers. Folks come and they might do like door for shows, like taking money and tickets. We have gallery volunteers that'll come here during Art Walk. Those are kind of some of our main volunteer stuff. We've opened up now, like post-pandemic, we're like continuing to build back on like having more people in the space. One of the ways that it's not quite volunteering, but we also offer educational internships. And so a lot of times folks either do that for college credit, or we partner with other organizations in town to get low-income folks paid for that. So like Northwest Youth Services or WorkSource. And so that's one way that like people can get like more in-depth and involved, and also go away with like pretty applicable skills to other areas that might not even be in the arts, but you know, now they've learned cash handling and they've learned basic customer service skills and things like that that'll be applicable elsewhere. But they also learned some concrete skills in the arts, like sound engineering, curation, and things like that. So.
My name's Janelle Nardone, and I'm the station manager at KZAX. I help organize like the intern that we have, Isaac, our program director, all of the programmers. I run the station meetings that we have with our DJs. I help with any technical difficulties. I work with our program director to find new programming that we can add to create a more diverse and interesting sound for a station. And we have a lot of different programs, but I also helped run some trainings and just I'm all over. I know that KZAX started in, like, I want to say 2016. It was established in a kind of weird way where we got our license from another station, but it was owned by Make.Shift, and Katie Gray was like the foster. That was like her baby, because she has a history in radio, and so she was also the executive director of Make.Shift at the time and was working really hard to make sure that this station could become something really, really interesting and cool in a space where there are a lot of radio stations for a pretty small area. And she elevated it to kind of what it was, and I started in 2021 as community manager, and we were just kind of trying to reestablish ourselves after just trying to survive through the pandemic. So a lot of people were recording their shows from home and are putting in tons of effort to learn how to like edit their own shows and still find a way to continue to create programming, which is just a huge testament to our programmers and how much they've gone through and how much they love radio, because you don't just do that for anything. And so I felt really lucky to start trying to create more guidelines and create trainings for people who didn't have any experience with radio at all, to dip their toes in, see if they liked it, what they wanted to do, just like totally give them creative freedom to create shows. And we've had so many really interesting ones, like Groove Around the World was the show that we have had for about a year and focuses on like Latin and groovy music from all over the world, so it's international, which is really cool. And we also have like older shows like Essentials with Mike Nardone, which is like a hip-hop based show that follows music throughout, well, follows hip-hop throughout the 80s up until very recently, and I think he does his best to find essential hits from as long as hip-hop has been around. So I've just been trying to do my best to facilitate the cool talent that already exists in Bellingham and that is already here. Just give people the tools that they need to elevate that to like the next level and give them more exposure. So we have like, we're a variety channel. We have like syndicated programming, which is programming that is pre-recorded. We get from like the Pacifica Network that we will air usually in the mornings, and that's more like public affairs and like political talk kind of shows. And then as we enter more of like the afternoon space, there's more music shows, and that just kind of goes across the board, kind of like whatever a programmer is interested in doing. If we have a space available and we don't have like 3 of the same kinds of shows, I'm gonna give them creative liberty to do whatever they want and to express themselves freely. So we have kind of a plethora from like alt and indie music to bluegrass and folk to even the show on Fridays called The Scoreboard, which is focused on like the scores of movies and like movies that have come out and their like track lists, which are really, really cool. So yeah, we have a pretty large variety. This is 94.9 KZAX LP-FM, our studio underground. This is where we have all of our live shows. In the future, we'll be doing pre-recorded material in our other room right next to our live room, and we're in the middle of like one of our shows, The Scoreboard with Gray. It gives me more insight to like what's also playing at the Pickford and like what's coming out, and it's been keeping me more on my toes of like what I need to listen to. But yeah, we recently moved in here. Like it's been the process of 3 to 4 weeks, so we're still pretty new to the space, but very, very excited to be working and operating out of the bank building. I'm really, really excited to be able to lift up more like local artists and bands and have them perform live and give them that exposure, because that'll be great for them, and also like a really, really cool opportunity for our DJs and our programmers. But yeah, we're just looking forward to having more of those, like more of our shows resuming, and also we're trying to get more locally syndicated programming. So the Shut Up and Listen podcast will be joining KZAX soon, which is really exciting. The Young and Indigenous podcast, which is produced in Bellingham, will be joining us, and we're looking to find more local programming to add to KZAX. But yeah, I'm really, really excited.
I think stations like this are super important for cultivating any kind of culture around music and the arts in a city of any size. And so I'm a transplant in Bellingham, been here about 3 years, came to work at the Pickford, the local indie cinema in town. And when the opportunity arose to be a DJ, I was like, I would love to do that so much. I can't believe this is even something that they're, opening up, and it's like been a lifelong like dream just to like do a DJ show. So that was really cool. And once you do get plugged in, you see how KZAX is crucial to cultivating a really thriving music culture in Bellingham. And it's just one of the things that makes living in Bellingham and in the Northwest really special, I think. And as far as just my experience as a DJ, it's been really cool because I'm a beginner, and they've been super helpful, especially Janelle, in setting us up for success and making sure we have everything we need. And so that experience has been really awesome and has made me not only excited to get on the air, but learn a new skill and have a lot of fun doing it. So it's something I look forward to every week, and I'm just grateful KZAX exists. So, yeah.
Probably every nonprofit that you interview says money. So donations make a huge, huge difference. We've worked really hard at being able to make our employment more sustainable over the last few years. And I would say we're definitely making strides, but have a ways to go. And we want, to be able to provide real jobs for people, which is rare in the arts. And so basic donations, if someone's capable of giving a cash donation, it's amazing. If people aren't, that's also understandable. So like spreading the word on social media about our events, or even just telling like your representatives that the arts matter. There's not a whole lot of government funding for the arts in Washington. It's kind of a surprising fact, especially since I think a lot of people who live here enjoy how creative it is, but we're maybe one of the worst states in terms of the government funding that goes towards the arts. So telling people that are in positions of power that you care about the arts and you think that it's something that needs to be funded does actually make a big difference. I think the way that Bellingham is changing rent-wise is something. I know a lot of people, we hear from people all the time that they can't really afford to live here anymore, and so that's a tough thing where we don't want to see folks get pushed out because it's like more and more expensive and not as affordable. And so that's something that like I hope as a large community we can come together and address more to make sure that there's like continued affordable housing, because I think a lot of people who work in the arts, who are artists, are really like piecemealing their income together, because I know I've had the experience of working as like a freelance artist and writer, and it's not always like consistent in terms of where you're getting your income, and you just kind of don't have that security of like a traditional 9-to-5 job. And so I hope that as things continue to change, we can make some strides as a community to make sure people have a safety net and can continue to live in a community where they love. I wish people knew how important creativity is to a lot of people. That one of my favorite authors is Beth Pickens, and she talks a lot about how we might not have a scientific explanation for it, but some people are just kind of like born artists, like they can't help but create. And I think sometimes that gets kind of stigmatized as frivolous or not as important, but I think anybody who has a creative drive starts to feel like depleted when they're not able to have that space, and they feel like they can't fully engage in the rest of the world if they're not given opportunities to express themselves. And so I think embracing that diversity of how people go through their lives, and yeah, just realizing how important it is for some people to be able to have that opportunity to create weird things, make mistakes and learn through them, and try out new experiments with creativity. I think that that's crucial even beyond if you have an artistic mindset, like being in a space where it's like you can try something for the first time, and if you mess up, there's not like a lot of pressure. I think that that's crucial for a lot of people to have that experience and kind of like rewire their neural pathways, you know, because we often get punished when we make mistakes, and like art allows a space where you can make mistakes and then just like start over and try again. You can find us online at makeshiftartspace.org. We're on social media, so Instagram is probably where we post the most, and it's just at make.shift art space, and you can come down to 306 Flora and see us in person.